Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sajdah's Morning Coffee Talk, where we talk about life, love, and business. So sit back, relax, grab you some coffee, like and subscribe while I'm gone, and I'll be back in a few minutes, and we'll get started.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Welcome to Sajdah's morning coffee talk. Although this morning for me, it's morning hydration. What y'all sipping on this morning? Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Sister Betty. Last night we were in the middle, literally, about the beginning of the show on the perils of a competitive mind, and the power went out on our block. And it came back on late, and I started to come back out here and go live, and I was like, nah. I was tired after that, but grateful that came back on. The power crews were out here right away and got everything back on. So we'll have to continue that conversation. We'll have a little bit of it this morning. I still don't know what that meant spiritually, if it meant anything, but anyway, to say the very least, we got about maybe about 10 minutes into the show, and then boop. And I was like, should I go in the car and do it? Should I? And I was like, no, we'll wait till this morning, and inshallah, everything will be okay. And so far, so good. Let's see what we got going on. Man, this is the DNC, the 2024 Democratic National Convention, is in Chicago. So the city's all crazy. Streets around McCormick Place are blocked off. Down by the United Center, stuff's blocked off. So if you got to move around, allow yourself a little extra time so you don't get, out of your vibration by getting upset with the traffic and, all the people who are in town. There's so many people that are here for it. And you know what? I want you guys to Google Elijah Muhammad and the Democratic Party, because there's a very powerful article that was written by Julian Bond. I'm going to read it to you. Let me pull it up because I just had it and I want you guys to hear this. Very, very interesting, that I know that they probably aren't going to talk much about or say anything about. It was found in Julian Bond's papers, and the title of the article is "Now Let the Democrats Praise Elijah Muhammad," Chicago Tribune. So Google that. Now let the Democrats praise Elijah Muhammad. And it says, Taylor Branch and I were walking despondently down a hot street in Chicago's Loop in August of 1968, a week before the Democratic Convention began. With three others, we were the advance guard of the 60-plus member Georgia Loyal National Democratic Delegation to the 1968 Democratic Convention. The Loyalists were a rump group set up to challenge the hand-picked, overwhelmingly white segregationist and overwhelmingly pro-George Wallace official Georgia delegation. There had been no election of delegates in our state. Georgia's party chair had simply handpicked them. Georgia's rank-and-file Democrats, even then heavily Black, had no say in who would represent them at the convention to write a platform and choose their party's presidential and vice presidential nominees. Our group was integrated and loyally Democratic. While delegations from other states could look forward to open arms, hotel rooms, Chicago hospitality, and transportation from hotel to convention hall, we had none of these things. And we had no money. We could not even afford to bring our delegation to Chicago. A large Black man, Walter Turner, recognizing me, stopped us and asked if he could help. We explained our dilemma, and Turner said he could get us rooms at a nearby hotel. When we answered that we had already been turned away from that place, he insisted on trying. And after a moment of secret conversation with the manager, told us we had the required rooms. But how could we pay for them? How could we pay to bring the delegates who were to occupy those rooms to Chicago? Turner suggested we ask his employer, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam, popularly known as the Black Muslims. Taylor and I were incredulous. Why would the leader of America's most prominent Black separatist group, a man who forbade his followers to register and vote, and who regularly castigated whites as blue-eyed devils, pay to bring a group made up of a majority of those devils to a meeting whose whole point was voting and political participation? Nevertheless, Turner arranged for me, this is Julian Bond speaking, to meet Mr. Muhammad in his Hyde Park mansion. Now, y'all know that is now today called Sajdah House. I told him my sad tale and also to an audience of Muslim men and women who listened politely and asked me to return for a meal the next day. At the next evening's dinner, men and women sat at separate tables. He surveyed them before giving me an answer, asking the women first if he should give me a donation. Each one emphatically said no. "We don't know this young man," one said. "He'll give all the money to the devils," another one said. Sisters always be protective, right? The men were less negative, but they said no as well. Mr. Muhammad heard them out, and then he said to me, this part is funny, "Mr. Bond, in the Nation of Islam, we listen to the women, but we'll do what the men say." He gave me $3,000 in crisp $100 bills. That money brought our delegation to Chicago and helped pay our bills. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad helped the Georgia Loyal National Democrats force the Democratic Party to make good on promises it made in 1964 that delegate selections would be democratic, fair, and open. And so there's been a lot of conversations around how the Democratic Party was integrated, and it's largely in part due to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his generous contribution to Julian Bond in 1968 for the 1968 Democratic convention. And I'll post a link to this this video, but that was 56 years ago today. And here we are, the Democratic Party is in Chicago, largely integrated, in large part due to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So don't believe everything you hear. Don't believe the press. These propaganda machines are incredulous. Incredible, I should say, not incredulous, but incredible. So there you go. 2024 Democratic Convention in Chicago, 56 years ago. And it was here in 1968. And the Black delegates were largely shut out. And Julian Bond, Andrew Young, and the delegates that he sponsored were not all Black. There were some white people in that delegation as well. $3,000, back then, I think that's somewhere around $28,000. Y'all can look it up for me today. Interesting history, right? And we have photos of them at the house. And from my understanding, it got violent downtown on Michigan Avenue, and he sent the FOI to go and get some of them, and some of them actually stayed at the historical home. So great history here. I also wanted to talk about today something that I learned from my brother. It took me a while to learn it from him, but I've observed this of him over the years. And I'm saying this in light of the passing or the transition of our beloved sister, Sister Karen Farrakhan. May Allah forever be pleased with her. And we're sending prayers to Brother Mustafa and all the girls and grandchildren. Just sending you prayers and covering you in our love. Um, our sister was a very strong and beautiful sister. If you had the blessings of being able to know her, you knew her colorful and beautiful personality. A lot of fun. And the at the Day of Atonement, I can't remember what year it was, but the last time we had it at Christ Universal Temple here in Chicago, um, I hadn't seen her in years. And we came through the back door. And when I came out of the search post, she saw me and she called my name. She said, Sister Wendy. And I was like, Kay, and we hugged. And she said, we had this thing back in the day. It's so funny. Karen was hilarious. And she had this laugh. A couple of her daughters have the laugh too. Shahira, sometimes I hear it in her laugh. But Karen had this laugh that was just contagious. And, when I first met her back in the day, young, we would just laugh at everything, literally everything. Stuff we probably wasn't even supposed to be laughing at. We would just crack up. And she was reminding me of how much fun we used to have and how we would just laugh. And Karen was that big sister that if you was going through something, she was going to give you a break and have you crack up. So I always look forward to her coming to the office back in the day. Always sharp, but just always funny. And even when somebody did something crazy, we would find something to laugh about. And I remember how much she loved Mary J. Blige. And there's a couple artists, for me, as much as I love music, during that time, having gone through school and then working, I just wasn't up on my music. And so Karen was the one who first brought Mary J. Blige to my attention. And Sister Aletha was the one who first brought Jodeci and TLC to my attention. But anyway, going back to that conversation, she just said, let's get together and laugh like we used to. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm here now. And over the course of that time, I just kept thinking about her. And something kept saying, call her, call her. And I'm reminded because my brother is really good at when somebody pops up in his mind, he calls them. Shout out to my brother Kevin, I have to say. Kevin doesn't come off as a spiritual person, and he probably doesn't think he's a spiritual person, but we come from a family of highly spiritual people. We come from the Samiti people who were healers, and so Kevin has a number of spiritual gifts that one is that he's a human GPS. The other one is that he's just good at, feeling things and feeling energy. And whenever he thinks of somebody, he always tries to reach out. If he thinks about them, he'll call and he'll tell me like, look, I reached out to so-and-so, or I texted them or whatever. And I didn't do that with Sister Karen. I kept thinking about her, and I did not follow my brother's lead and reach out to her. And she texted a couple times and was asking when I would be back in town. And I said, hey, no problem. I gave her the dates, but I didn't follow up with a phone call. And the week that I decided that I was going to call her that weekend, I remember thinking of her earlier in the week, like maybe Sunday or Monday or something like that. And I said, I'm going to call her this weekend because I'll be back in Chicago. No, I think I was leaving Chicago, and then I knew I was coming back in 2 weeks. And I said to myself, I'll call her this weekend and schedule something in 2 weeks. And that later that week, I got the phone call that she had gotten ill, and obviously never was able to call her. But I'm saying that to us, not to make you all sad, but everybody comes to teach us something, and everybody that we interact and connect with is here as a teacher to us. And so if somebody pops in your mind, reach out to them. If something says to you, I think I need to call so and so, reach out to them. And we should get in the habit of just reaching out to check on each other, period. You know, a lot of us, it's funny how we are consider ourselves great friends with somebody, but we don't reach out to them. And I'm not saying that you got to be friends with the person and talk to them all the time just to solidify the friendship. I mean, for me and my friends, we're all busy, we're doing stuff. And so if I call them and they don't answer, or if they call me and I don't answer, we get it. We're good. You know, we understand, we get it. But at the same time, if I'm feeling like something ain't right or something's wrong, I will, I'll reach out, to that person. But I haven't been as good about that, even as my brother is, and I need to be even better. And there's a couple people on my mind now that I think about that I'm like, you know what am I doing? Let me just reach out to them. And you know how you get busy. You think about the person today, and then you get busy, and then maybe a month later, you might think about them. But if we were all kind of responding to that stimuli that was happening in our brain and in our hearts, then it'd be like back in the day, right? You think about somebody and then all of a sudden they call on the phone, right? So that's a page that we got to take out of Brother Kevin's book and reach out to people when they pop up in our minds. So our sisters' janaza services are tomorrow, actually. You'll see it posted on the internet. I think I may have reposted it on my pages. If not, I will. You'll be able to take a look at it at noi.org. Inshallah, a number of us will be there present, and hopefully our presence will comfort her family. And we send our sister off well. So may Allah be pleased with her. So that's that. We got another financial boot camp coming up, financial trauma boot camp coming up. It's a specific subject, so stay tuned. I'm not gonna spill the beans now right here, but we'll tell you about it soon, probably in the next couple of days. We'll put it out there, make the announcement, and launch it, and maybe I'll get some balloons and send them up and make it a big deal. Last night when we got interrupted, we were talking about the dangers of a competitive mind. And I was thinking about it last night, and I said, this whole concept of competition, that is probably an ancient competition, an ancient thing. It's probably ancient. So much of the modern day that we practice competition is born out of our desire to seek attention. And for a lot of us, it's a trauma response. For a lot of us, it came from slavery, just trying to be the one to get the piece of chicken and get to go in the big house. So we're competing. There's this crab in the barrel type of thing. Some of us are so bad today, especially with the way social media encourages us to compare ourselves to one another, that we can't even be friends with somebody because we're so busy comparing. We can't even love somebody because we're so busy comparing. It's sad. It's a real shame. There's healthy ways to be competitive, okay? And the healthiest way is to compete against yourself. Now, if you're in a competition, I got obviously like a sales competition or athletic competition, that's different. I'm talking about everyday life when you ain't got no reason to be competing. You should just be competing against yourself. So, who were you yesterday? And how can you strive today to be better than you were yesterday? So, even if you're trying to break a habit, if you smoked 5 cigarettes yesterday, you really should just quit. But if you can't do that, then maybe you say today, I'm going to do 4, and the next day 3, and the next day 2, the next day 1. And maybe you stay at 1 for a week and then you break it off. You should just break it off completely, but maybe you got to inject some of that kind of competitive energy that we oftentimes put towards one another, um, into competing with yourself. You know, don't look at somebody else and say, why them? I get that a lot with a lot of things, specifically with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum, where people have literally asked me that question, literally have had issues because for whatever reason they don't understand. Um, and you just can't do that because oftentimes when you see a life or a lifestyle, there's something behind that life and there's something behind that lifestyle that goes with it. Okay. So you can't be jealous of Beyonce and then not want Beyonce's life because what comes with that? What are the pressures that she has to deal with? Who are her enemies? So you don't judge a person by their friends. You judge the worth of a person by the strength and the power of their enemies. And so when you see what that person has to go through to get to where they are or what they've had to go through, I've had people, act jealous or compete against me because I allowed the knowledge that Allah gave me to flow through me and build a hospital and build clinics. And some people got really, really hateful and jealous with me over that. But what they don't know is all the other things that come with it. And while I am extremely grateful, I understand that there's balance. If you're looking at a beautifully tall building, don't get jealous of the building because you don't know the amount of weight that that building has to sustain in order to just stand there and look beautiful. And whenever you find yourself competing against somebody, I got to have the better car. I got to have the better house. I got to have the better apartment. I got to have this or that. And I'm so competitive that I'm making myself sick. All you're doing, listen to me good, all you're doing is putting yourself in a vibrational state to make it even harder for you to accomplish your true potential. See, when you're competing against yourself, that's a certain vibration, that's a certain mindset, it's a certain grid you got to plug into. If you say, you know what, yesterday I was depressed and today I'm not going to be, I'm going to be flying high, I'm going to be thinking right, I'm going to be nice to people, whatever your thing is, that's a certain mindset and a certain vibration. But when you're constantly looking at your brother, your sister, or somebody else, and you're being jealous over what somebody else has, you are really vibrating on a very low frequency. Now, let me tell you what's going to come from that. You're going to make yourself sick. You are going to ruin your own potential. You literally are going to change your entire DNA and your entire cellular structure, and you're going to look up and wonder why you don't feel good. Why is that? Some people be like, well, karma. No, it's real simple. Your mind controls the energy flow in your body. You can make yourself feel good and you can make yourself feel bad. If you're making yourself feel bad by comparing yourself to somebody else or by competing against somebody else, then All you're doing is functioning on that low vibrational plane, and you're going to find that things will slip right through your hand. Very good, very few good things will happen to you. And then you're wondering, oh, how come she can do this, or she can build this, or she can have that, and she can think like this? Because she has a certain mindset. She's plugged into a certain grid. She's functioning at a certain frequency. So that no matter what happens, she wins because that's how she's vibrating. You know, when people question or have something to say about me and things that I'm working on and projects that Allah has put on me that are heavy, big projects, what they don't understand is that maybe because you don't see me, you think, maybe if you don't see me, you think you have this thing in your head about how my life may be as a result of this particular project or whatever. But what you don't realize is that when you do these big, heavy projects, you give up certain aspects of your private life. And it's interesting because it's God's way of going, you know, you're going to walk this thing the straight and narrow. You're going to think about every step and every move, because everything you do, everything that happens, and even including everybody around you, becomes part of that public scrutiny. So when you get these big projects and you get these big assignments, all of a sudden you get this big spotlight down on your life. And so while you may have moved a certain way or did certain things that maybe you weren't supposed to do, you can't necessarily do it once that spotlight gets on you. So you give up a lot of your personal freedoms in exchange for the reward of some of these big projects and some of these big opportunities. So I go back to my statement. If you jealous of Beyonce, don't be jealous of Beyonce. Her whole life is our business, damn near. I'm certainly not saying that I'm at that level, but you'd be surprised at the level of scrutiny, the spotlight. And so you find yourself dotting all your I's and crossing all your T's and taking every step to make sure that you do everything properly, because of the spotlight that comes on you. So, but that's a lot of pressure. And and it's a lifestyle that a lot of people may think they want. They may say, well, I want to be at the ribbon cutting and be cutting the ribbon for my new hospital. That endeavor came with death threats from the healthcare community. It came from, you know, a lot of drama. But it's a true blessing. And it's like having a baby, right? You're going through all the labor pains, and people may say, man, I want that baby. And they may be tempted to steal somebody's baby, but they're not willing to go through the labor pains that it takes to go through to give birth to that idea, that concept, that situation. So, you know, when you take up certain missions, the enemies of that mission become yours. But the beautiful thing is that you really get an opportunity to see how successful you truly can be. Because if you're walking around here going, well, I want to be Tyler Perry, I want to be Master P, do you know what they go through? Do you know the public scrutiny that they have to deal with? Do you? Are you ready for that? Are you really ready for that? Are you really ready for all of your personal life to be on public display, like a Tyler Perry or a Master P or even a Diddy or anybody? Are you ready for that? So before you get jealous and start hating on people, dial it back. Dial it back, because there's a lot that comes with it. And the idea of having healthy competition is competing against yourself. Now, it's okay if you see somebody and they look really nice and they inspired you. and you say, man, they really inspired me to dress up, or they inspired me to clean my house, or they inspired me to paint my car, or whatever, that's fine. And if you see somebody that is doing more than you or doing better than you, then maybe find out, man, what's the technique? What can I learn? What's the mindset? How can I grow from, as a result of studying this person and learning this person instead of hating? And the sad part about it is that when it comes to competition, we messing around hating people who are not even as good as our potential. It's just dumb. And so much of the behind the scenes, the lessons that go with things are so much more important and powerful, because at the end of the day, God is figuring out how to shape us and mold us so he can use us. So whatever we're going through today is preparation for where he is about to take us. So that's why you got to spend time focusing on yourself. Where are you right now? And what can you do better with what you're dealing with right now? How can you make it right now? Because there's somewhere that God has his eye on that he's taking you, but he's got to fix you first. And you know what I'm talking about. It's stuff that you know about you that ain't right. It's stuff that maybe you've done in the past that maybe you didn't do quite right. And while he's forgiven you for it and you've made up for it and you're rolling forward, but he wants to clean you up and make sure that the residues of those old behaviors is gone, so that when he moves you into this next position, you're ready and you can handle it and you're all good. But if you're so busy right here in this position, worrying about what I'm doing and worrying about what the next person is doing, or trying to figure out how you can scam right now at this position, you're never going to get to the next position. And you're going to look up 20, 30 years from now saying, man, by now I should have been doing this or that. Well, yeah, you should have and you could have, but you really been on a hamster wheel because you got so jealous and competitive over the next person that you start doing crazy stuff, scamming, hating, competing, and you forgot about your own personal development. So the way people make steps that put them in positions that you may consider makes them ahead of you is that they're taking care of the position that they're in now. So if God bless you with $50 right now, how are you taking care of that $50? Because he's probably preparing you so that when you get 500, you know how to handle it. If he gave you $500,000 right now, how are you taking care of that? Because more than likely, he's preparing you to give you 5 million down the road, or maybe even tomorrow. But he can't do it because you're not taking care of where you are now. So you got the 500,000 and you over here cutting up, trying to stun on people that you've been jealous of, instead of paying attention to what you should be doing to do right, to correct your behaviors from the past so that you can deserve where you're going in the future. So if you feel like, and this is for everybody. I'm not talking to anybody in particular. If all of us look at our lives and go, man, I really feel like by now I should have done such and such and so and so. The way to move yourself through that and move yourself past that is pay attention to what you're being blessed right now, what opportunities, what responsibilities, who you can help, who you can support. How are you handling what's coming through your sphere of influence right now? And if you focus on that and not the insecurities, not being competitive, but focus on that. How are you handling what's coming through your sphere of influence right now? Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about what mistakes you've made. Don't worry about people who are mad at you because they can't let you get over a mistake that you made. Work on that. And then next thing you know, day by day, degree by degree, decision by decision, you'll go to the next level and the next level and the next level and the next level. And it'll seem like overnight. It'll seem like just yesterday you were at a certain position and now you won't even recognize yourself. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter how young you are. You can still do this. And there's a lot of people who can take advantage of you because here's the thing. When you get in that low vibrational matrix grid and you're a competitive person, there are people who become dependent upon your competitiveness. And when they get dependent upon that, they know you're going to show off. So they're going to hang out with you because they can get some stuff, right? They get to go to dinner because they know you're going to stunt. So they're going to hang out because they want to go to dinner. Some of them will be in a relationship with you. Some people will even marry you because they know that you're going to blow all your money on them because you're showing out, or you just a trick. They know that. Or maybe people know that you're competitive and you drink or you get high. So those people with those same vices will hang out with you, build a relationship with you, and they'll get used to you functioning like that. We talked about financial trauma, the overspending, the excessive amount of, competitiveness. They will get used to that. And then when you start changing, when you say, you know what, I've been stuck with you and y'all in a situation with this behavior for 15, 20 years. Because sometimes it's how long it takes some of us to wake up. And you say, but you know what? I'm done with that. I'm not going to keep doing that. I am going to focus on being more responsible, being more straightforward, being more honest. I'm going to focus on being more responsible, whatever you're dealing with, only you know, and you don't have to tell nobody, deal with it. I'm going to just focus on being a better person. And I'm not saying you got to change overnight. You ain't got to be one person one day and a totally different person the next, but bridge yourself into doing better. All of a sudden, those relationships don't do as well. Okay. All of a sudden, that person who was dependent upon that weaker part of you is now not so happy with you because, it's like people who go out and drink, or people who get high, and all of a sudden you got to get you a whole new set of friends because you don't get high anymore. And those friends want to get high and they don't like you. They don't like the you that gets high, that doesn't get high. They like the you that's high. I mean, I think it's very simple. But it's more difficult in practice. It's conceptually simple, but difficult in practice. So I just want us to think about that, because a lot of us I know for myself, I'm always trying to progress. This is, 2024, 2025. I want to be saying, I remember when I felt like this, or when I had to overcome this, or when I had to work on that. And so I don't want to be on a hamster wheel. And so for me, I could care less in terms of competing. I'm so busy competing against myself and trying to be a better person. I'm trying to look better. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to feel better. I'm trying to think better. I'm trying to be more powerful. I'm trying to go to that next level. I'm trying to sit at different tables. I'm trying to have a different level of expansion. I'm trying to have more money, more happiness, more wealth, more success. And I really ain't got time to be competing, so much so that when people are competitive and they try to be in my circle, they can't stand it. I don't even have to do anything. They just kind of pop out and go away. And I think that's how we all should be. So my goal is all about supporting people. How can I be an asset to somebody that in a way that doesn't necessarily benefit me? How can I be selfless in a situation and give and support and help somebody and learn from that energy exchange so that tomorrow, you never know when you need somebody to do that for you, but then so that tomorrow or the next day, I can grow and be on the next level. I'm so focused on that I woke up this morning at 4:45 and I'm not the same person at 6:45 that I was at 4:45 this morning, because there's something in the process, some new way of thinking I thought of, some new way of being, just in terms of raising my vibration. I'm not the same person that I was when I first started this talk at 6 a.m. That's how into it I am. How can I better myself? How can I elevate? How can I do more? Because, with these big assignments that I've been blessed to get from Allah, that means that I got to work on myself, my character. I got to keep going because I want even more, even more, even more. I want to help and make his great commission known. So, all right, y'all, I'll get off my soapbox on that. That's my conversation on the dangers of a competitive mind. It can be very dangerous or it can be very helpful. It's up to you. All right. If you're dealing with weight issues, if you weigh 180 pounds today, then figure out how by next week you can weigh 178. And then the next week 175 or whatever. Compete against yourself. If you ran a 7-minute mile today, then maybe you go for 6 point something tomorrow. But you set the bar and you just keep going. Don't compare your day 1 to somebody's day 20. Meaning that there are some people, I get this all the time when it comes to business. I literally have been studying business since I was a child. My mother's on here and she would tell you, she used to bring me the Kiplinger financial report that had all the, I don't even think she read it herself. It had all the financial, economic information of what was going on with various companies around the country and how it impacted the financial market. And I used to read and study those things. I would keep them in a notebook and just read them and study them. So when I go to a meeting and I can get a download immediately about what is required, is probably very valid. A lot of times people will say, well, how's she know? Because I've been in this space for that long. I literally grew up in this space with this as my way of being, studying business, studying people, how they interact. I tell you another thing that I've been studying since I was a child, and that was world history. World history as it relates to religion. I've studied Taoism, Judaism. I just would gravitate towards it in history. So when I started traveling, I understood it and had a healthy respect for people from different backgrounds and things like that. So, all right, y'all, with that, let me see. I see y'all in the chat. We already shouted out Mom. Good morning, Mother. Good morning, Sister Betty. I see Sister Monica there. She says, Assalamu alaikum and great Friday to all. Wa alaikum salam and great Friday to you, ma'am. Brother Robert Epps says, the Holy Quran says that hard times are necessary to establish truth. Tell me about it. Brother Cashapp says, that's a beautiful background. Is that the messenger's home? No, this is not the messenger's home. This is actually my basement. So it's a room in my basement is what that is. It's kind of a spiritual room that I put together It's really great for meditation and vibration. And in those kind of rooms, I try to combine different elements and different energy points. So you can't see the rest of the room, but you can see my my wall coverings on the back. Um, those are actually Moroccan. These pillows right here are covered with a Moroccan fabric. I just chose certain colors and combinations. I've got some really cool coffee table books that are on here. And so you got wood and marble and different elements down here. I'm working on bringing a water element, so that we have all of these different um, meditative energies. I've got some crystals on the table here, a little citrine and a little quartz, um, and some really cool books and things like that. I got some other crystals that are in a lamp that you guys can't see, but I'll maybe move the camera around next time so that you guys can see it. You guys know I love horses and peacocks, so there's some horses and peacocks in here too. But just vibrational. I mentioned that I love world history. I love world religious history, and so my decor usually speaks to that love. It's just something that I've developed over the years. Okay, family. So happy Friday. Hopefully you got a very productive day ahead of you. Focus on yourself. Focus on healing and getting better where you are right now. And those little degrees of improvement that you make will translate into degrees of development in your life. And you will look up 2 weeks from now and you'll be so impressed with the person that you've become. Focus on yourself, compete against yourself. All right, family, happy Friday. Stay tuned. Give a love offering. Y'all know we putting on these boot camps and stuff, and the boot camp will not be free, but we got to put the platform together. I got to get the people together. It's going to be a very, very powerful one this time. So get it together. Mom says she did read the Kiplinger, ma'am. Okay, let me put her thing up here. She said she read it. So I stand corrected. She said I did read the Kiplinger, ma'am. Okay. So with that, like, subscribe, tell a friend. You all know that you got to make this go viral. You got to make this information. We have to support. Information ain't free. Freedom ain't free. So, Sister Jacqueline said, all praise due to Allah. That's my sister. Hey, Jackie. Oh, I'm sorry. She don't want me to call her Jackie no more. Hey, assalamu alaikum, Sister Jacqueline. All right, family. Support. Love offering is there. Sajdah Enterprises. Support the network. Support the platform by forwarding these talks. Make it go viral. And we'll see you all, inshallah, tomorrow morning for our original Sajdah Saturday morning coffee talk, where we talk about life, love, and business. I love each and every one of you, and I'm grateful for your support. I'm wishing each and every one of you more love, more goodness, more abundance, more peace than you've ever experienced or imagined. I want God to surprise you today with how much he blesses you. With that, family, I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Peace and blessings.